What's going on, everybody? Alonzo here with GulfCoastSmoke.com, and today we're trimming competition pork butt. So we're getting closer and closer to mid-October, and we've really got to start dialing in. We have done this a few times, but I wanted to show it on camera so I can get some feedback from you guys and hopefully show you a thing or two. Today we're starting with an 8.21 pound Prairie Fresh natural pork butt. This has the bone in, and I know that they have some with the bone out, but we want to remove the bone ourselves. So I'm just going to get this out of the package. I really wanted to show you guys what brand I was using, not sponsored or anything, and also wanted to show you guys how big it is. So once we get this out of the package, one of the first things that we want to do is we want to identify where the money muscle is. So the money muscle is right here. It's going to be opposite of the bone, and you can kind of start to form it with your hand. And then you can kind of see how it comes out. And right here, you can see all those fat striations. And that is exactly what we're looking for. This right here is, from what I understand, again, we're going into this pretty green. But from what I understand, you absolutely have to turn in some money muscle medallions. So we obviously really want to focus right here. So I'm just going to pat my pork butt down a little bit just so it's not so wet and it's easier for us to handle. And I've watched a few videos online, and when I'm practicing this, I haven't really figured out exactly how I'm going to do it moving forward, but I do need to make up my mind, and what I've decided is the first thing I want to do is find where the bone is. So hopefully you can see it in the camera. I'm actually running my finger along the bone here, so I'm going to kind of turn it here. Hopefully the other camera catches that, and what we're going to do is we're going to get our knife, and we're going to start cutting right around this bone, and then just getting our fingers, and slowly but surely we want to get the bone out. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind, sorry, my son is still a little sick. I know that cough sounds bad, but I promise they're getting a lot better. So one of the things that I want to think about is the money muscle is right here up front. So if I'm running my knife this way, I don't want to go too far to where I damage that money muscle. And also you can kind of see that the money muscle 100%, to be 100% honest, is not that big, but we're still going to do the best we can here. So you guys know how pork butt bones are. There's a bunch of little grooves in there and stuff. So we just got to be patient here. Be careful. Don't cut yourself. Oh, and before I go too far, one of the things I did want to talk about is I'm going to keep the fat cap on this the whole way through. I don't want to lose any of this fat cap at all, so just keep in mind that we're not going to do any trimming here. Now, right here, you'll see that the fat cap is just not there, and to be 100% honest, I would prefer if it was, but the reason I picked this one is because once we're done with this trim, I'm actually going to take this money muscle out completely, and I'm going to do a separate short video that you guys will see later, but anyway, that's why I'm okay with this one, but typically I always want to keep a fat cap across this whole pork butt. So again, I'm just trying to get my knife around this bone. And then also the other thing I'm thinking about is not going too far to where I damage the meat that's right up there against that fat cap. That's a good piece of meat to turn in right under the fat. So now that I know where the bone goes, my knife's right up against it. I'm giving myself a little more room to get this bone out. As I'm making cuts here, it's easier and easier to peel away from the meat here. So, make my final cut. And that right there is the bone. Now you see I took a little bit of the fat cap off, which I was really trying not to, but the biggest thing here is now you'll notice that it's laying already a lot flatter, and that's exactly what I want. Okay, so now we have a rough shape of our pork butt. And again, I told you guys earlier, the thing I'm going to focus on is this money muscle. So I'm going to start trimming right around it and just get some of this meat away real quick. Plate. Okay. So now you can see we're starting to see a more defined money muscle here. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. And one of the things that I've kind of seen is some people will completely remove the money muscle and others won't. I think that that's probably up to personal preference, but for what we're going to do when we're actually trimming for the competitions is I'm going to leave it intact because it's kind of the same thing with brisket, or, well, that's the way I'm thinking about it, is that it cooks a little bit better whenever the muscles are actually kind of attached here. So, and as I'm going back here, I'm really just trying to make sure that this pork butt has a good shape. So we are going to be cooking this on a gateway drum, and so it's going to be cooking hot and fast, and I'm trying to keep those things in mind that I'm going to cook probably 2 of these, and I want to make sure that there's a good shape for the drum. So yes, we are 100% taking off a lot from this pork butt, but that's completely okay with me, and this is also going to help us cook it a lot quicker. So just a few things I want to do is make sure to get most of this fat out here. And the reason people do this is so they can kind of roll this money muscle out. And again, you can see that this one's really honestly not the best one I've ever seen, but it's okay. It is what it is. We're working with what we got. Just kind of round everything out a little bit. Some cuts here if needed. Now I'm just going to try and focus on the top of this money muscle, getting as much of this fat off as I can without damaging it. And now after trimming this up a little bit and kind of playing with that money muscle and just making sure that it looks really nice, you can see that it is very, very well defined here. Now, this specific money muscle, to me, is not very big at all. So when I inject it, it'll plump up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to be getting very many medallions out of this one. So I might be concentrating on getting my pulled from right here in the tubes, or if I do cook it properly, you can actually kind of see it under this fat. This part right here, right under the fat, is really, really good, tender, moist, and delicious. So this is also a part where I'll be wanting to get some pulled from. So in the end, once I'm done cooking it, I'll scrape away this fat and I'll actually pull right here. So it is kind of cool that this pork butt is not perfect, because if you look real quick, you see this piece right here. You see this little strip that I'm holding in my hand? So there's a fat seam right here under it, and then of course the fat cap is right on top. So if you cooked this perfectly, it's going to turn out really, really good, and that's where a lot of people are getting their pulled from. So that's why you want a full fat cap in order to cover this whole thing, and it makes it to where you can flip this pork butt, you can inject right here in where I've heard some people call it like the bacon, but typically I'm just calling it pulled. I don't know, pulled. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of videos trying to learn, and what I want to do here is I want to learn from people, but I also want to put our own spin on things, right? So I see a lot of people talking about making their pulled pork around 4 pounds, and that is exactly what I'm trying to do. I want this as close to 4 pounds as possible because we are going to be cooking more than one. The reason we're going to cook more than one is because if this money muscle is not where I want it, I need a different one that does have a bigger, more defined money muscle. I mean, this is going to be fine. Don't get me wrong. This is going to be really delicious, but I would want something bigger that I'm going to put in my turn-in box. And on top of that, if we have another one that does have a full fat cap, and then let's just say not so good of a money muscle, we can obviously use the pulled under. If I can, I would like to get all of my slices from the money muscle from 2 money muscles that are around the same size. So when I put them in, they just look really good in the box. So anyway, if you ask me, this is actually a pretty simple trim, right? So what I did was I took the bone out, I wedged out this money muscle, and I'm just trying to make it very defined. So what I want to do is I want to season everything here. I want to get a little bit of a bark on there, but I also like the way it cooks when everything is still connected. What you got, kiddo? Bogo is doing, hold on. Bogo is doing riding. Hold on. Stay still for a sec. Bogo is doing riding. He likes it. He is going to pick up hops. So who's Bogo? I can't remember. Is that the fox? No. No, who's Bogo? The chief? Oh, the big guy with the horns, the one that Idris Elba plays? Wow. Okay. So he's going to go pick up hops? All right, kiddo.
What do you need at the end of your sentences?
A period. Yes, ma'am. Good job, baby. Um, I don't remember what I last said, but basically what I do want to make sure that I did say is that I'm going to season this all over. I want a nice bark on it because once I cut there, this little part is not going to have any bark on it, and I just want it to overall look really good. Whenever I'm placing the medallions, I can make sure that that is facing the backside. And we just weighed this. It's right over 4 pounds, so it's very small. And what I'm trying to do is cook these in around 4 hours. So all I did, again, was remove that bone, and then I shaped this up exactly the way I wanted to. If you guys look at it in the camera, you can see it's just a small rectangle here now. I got my money muscle right in the front, and then I've got some tubes here. If I need to, I can pull from there. This is kind of like, I don't even want to say a loin, but this right here is definitely not as tender and moist as the rest of this pork right here. So this pulled is going to be more tender and more juicy than this part right here. And if you look throughout this pork butt, you can just see that there's fat that separates so many different muscles here. And that's exactly why we want to cook this as perfectly as possible. So one more time, I'm looking to get my slices, I'm looking to get my pulled from right under the fat and then slices from right out of this money muscle. So hopefully this helped you guys out, and if you saw anything that you didn't like that I did, please let me know in the comments, because like I've told you guys before, I always want to learn a better, more efficient way to do things. So I am probably going to be cooking 2, maybe 3 pork butts, and that's just because I want to give myself the best opportunity in order to turn in something great. So don't forget, we took that bone out of this pork butt, and then we started focusing on the money muscle. So what I wanted to do was just make it very definite and very apparent where that money muscle is, try and get some of that fat off of it so we can get a nice bark on there. And then I realistically just trimmed away at the pork butt so everything was pretty even across the whole pork butt. Now, I told you guys that I want to be turning in some money muscle and in some of the pull that's right under the fat, but if I need to, there's different spots in this pork butt that we can focus on just in case we get into trouble. Now, I'm really hoping that I don't mess 3 pork butts up, but you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, we're just trying to set ourselves up for the best possible chance at earning some money. Well, really, it's not about the money. It's about earning a walk and just putting out a good pork product. If you guys learned anything, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're really trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I always forget to remind you guys to subscribe, but I feel like you do it anyway, so we really appreciate that. As always, we really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.